We've done all the mods. We've test ridden the bike and we know that there's nothing profoundly wrong with it. The only thing left to do is to properly tune this motorcycle to really take advantage of all those modifications we've made, as well as keep the bike in a good, safe running condition. If you've been following this build, you know the first time we went to tune this thing, there was a bit of drama, but I'm hoping to avoid that this time, because we're gonna do it ourselves. But Jay, what is tuning a motorcycle? Well, let's go to the board and figure that out. Have you ever seen one of these, a dyno chart of a vehicle? You know, you have like horsepower, torque, RPMs, and you might see a graph kind of like this, maybe torque in another color, showing the power you make at different RPMs, the torque you make. And sometimes you see a little box below that. In this graph, you may see a line that kind of does some stuff like this, and that would be your air to fuel ratio. And whenever they dyno these vehicles, they basically are sniffing the exhaust, and they can tell whether there's too much oxygen, not enough oxygen, and that can determine what our air to fuel ratio is. In other words, are we getting enough fuel or are we not getting enough fuel? And maybe ideally they're trying to get it like somewhere along this blue line. This is the thing that's probably a little out of whack right now on our bike. What a tuner is really trying to do is to square away this air to fuel ratio. They're not necessarily looking at, oh, what's the power look like? Do I think I can squeeze some more out here and there? No, this is what they know to do. If they can get this along the ideal air to fuel ratio, then the horsepower should follow. Ideally, we would just take the bike to a dyno, like I did before, have them strap it down, put their probe in the exhaust, and run it up through a number of different throttle positions, RPMs, speeds, and they'll map everything out and then go in there and make corrections. In the real world, it hasn't quite worked out that way. When we went to the tuner before, got there and he didn't seem to actually quite know how to do it. He was running into some issues. The bike just wasn't really running quite right afterwards. That's just like the tricky part of it. If you live somewhere where there's like a lot more known tuners, and maybe you'd be okay. But for me, and I think for a lot of people, this is sort of hard to come by. Ultimately, the only way we got this thing fixed, and I was able to stop at DynoJet's facility in Vegas, and they fixed the tune. And it was really great after that. Once it got a proper tune, it was great. But here we are again in the same situation. The tune is now thrown off by the mods that we've done to it. Anytime you do these mods to the engines, it's gonna throw the tune off. And we need to get it fixed. So I've called around to a few other dyno places, trying to see, hey, is there like a better one I can find? I haven't exactly been filled with a lot of confidence from the conversations I've had with people at these other dynos in the area. But here's the good news. There are some new parts available for this bike, and they're gonna let us do the tune ourselves. Let me show you those. The Power Vision, this is what we've already installed on the bike before. And by installed, I mean we've hooked it up to the ECU. This is a small computer that you can leave on the bike if you want, but this flash tunes the factory ECU, and you have an amazing amount of control with that unit. That's kind of step one. Whether we were gonna get the thing dyno tuned or try to tune it ourselves, we really needed to put this guy on there. DynoJet, since installing that, has also come out with another kit, an auto tuner from DynoJet. There's some cables, a little tuning box guy right here, wideband, and the main thing, of course, that we're going to be installing on here is this, a wideband O2 sensor. And it is going to do the same thing a tuner would do. It's going to sniff the exhaust. Our job will simply be to ride around different throttle positions, RPMs, try to map out the entire area. Then hook this all up to the laptop. DynoJet software will come up with a bunch of suggestions. We'll apply those suggestions, and then we'll try it again and see how it does. And the goal is hopefully we'll do this a number of times and everything will be good. But if you've ever been to a dyno, and I've even worked at a shop with a dyno, this is exactly what they do themselves. You know, I think there's a lot of thoughts that there's magical like massaging and figuring out of the tune. There's definitely people out there that can do that, but most dyno shops, most tuners, all they're doing is they're running it up, letting the computer make a bunch of suggestions, applying them, maybe doing a few manual adjustments. The computer does a pretty good job. Here's the funny thing too, what it costs to get custom tuning. Remember, you already have to have the Power Vision. Most dynos are not gonna be able to just plug into your factory ECU. The cost of custom dyno tuning is about the same as this guy right here. And we can do this as many times as we want. If I make other changes down the road, plug it back in and we'll go again. It's a complete standalone unit. It does not replace our existing O2 sensor. They do give you a bung here. This is the, we'll have to get this welded onto the exhaust. Once we get it all squared away, we'll go find a local dyno and we'll get some numbers just to kind of see where it's at, because I know a lot of y'all want to know the final horsepower. I'm still fine with using one for that. But otherwise, I say, let's just do it ourselves, and then we don't have to worry about all the mess. First thing I need to do, take the entire exhaust back off again so I can go get this added to the header. And of course, big thanks to Dyno who provided us with this parts. You know, they provided us with the original Power Vision. They even helped us out in Vegas, like I said before. They're a great company, make a lot of wonderful products. Before I pull the exhaust off, actually, let's figure out exactly where this guy is gonna go on here. I'm not planning on leaving this on here once it's tuned. For the time being, I think I might stick it somewhere like right here. So what I wanna do is mark this on the exhaust before I actually remove it. Do I need to mention you should do this on the cold exhaust? Just gonna sit like that. So I actually own a drill press right behind me. Got it a while back, haven't gotten any of the other stuff. I don't even really have the right kind of drill bits for it. It's fine, stick to what I know. Milwaukee bits in a DeWalt drill, someone get upset. So why not? Obviously it needs to be bigger than that, but the collar of this, how much gap does he want? He's a welder. I'll let him cut the hole he thinks is best. I'm gonna run this over to the welder real fast so we can get on it. Bam, she's done. I thought I'd have more time. The guy got knocked it out really quick. You're out this way, Z-Fab. This is like a pro welder. This is great stuff. He filled this with argon. He does good work, but the internet's really funny about welders, aren't they? I've also, as you know, given it like another quick repolish just because I now own that guy. And it's kind of like slightly obsessed with doing that. It's sort of fun. So not like just a kind of a quick once over one. It's so nice. It's so polished. I love it. Let's pop this back on. A dab of grease on the new one. That'll help hold it in place till the exhaust gets in there. Ready to now install our wideband O2 sensor. It's so funny to look at the difference in the size between the stock one and what we're putting in, especially on this size pipe. It's kind of comical how big this is. It already has a nice little swafting of NICs on there, so we're pretty much good to go. Yeah, that's gonna be great. That's gonna tuck right up in there. We're gonna grab this cable, the one that's gonna plug into our wideband O2 sensor. If we come down here to the other end, you have a bunch of different colored cables here, and we actually have to plug those into our little wideband sensor here. Color coding inside. Instructions, the actual device itself is color coded. It's no big deal. You basically insert the wire right through here, use a small screwdriver and tighten it up, and then they give us a little strip to put over this when we're done. But for good measure, I'll look at the here, and then the wire as I do this, just to make sure I'm doing this right. There we go. Put a little strip on the back. Easy enough. So now what we need to do is basically connect everything. We've got this cable down here, we've got the Power Vision, we got to go back behind the seat under here and connect into the diagnostic port. If you were mounting this permanently, you just find a good place to stick this on the seat. They give you some Velcro. A lot of people run their Power Vision up on the handlebars. They make a number of different little straps. But for me, I just want to get it all tuned and then pull it back off, and I'll just simply put a plug where the O2 sensor goes. So I'm just going to run everything into this tank bag right here. Shout out to Nelson Rig, who set me up with this thing. I've got a lot of great Nelson Rig stuff. I got a discount code for Nelson Rig. Great company. And you see where we modified the fuel tank vent so that this pressing down here doesn't press into the fuel cap thing. It's perfect, it's good, I love it. Basically, I'm just gonna put everything kind of up in here. Hi everybody, it's been 3 months. I apologize. So basically we connected everything as the manual says, and it didn't work. I had a going back and forth for a while there with Dyno trying to fix it. They kept originally saying it was just my fault, I did something wrong. Finally got one of the actual technicians who sent me a complete different way to connect everything, and it works. What's in the manual is wrong. Here's a picture of how it should be connected. I've now set it up that way and tested it and even done a first sort of initial tune on it. It seems to be working. And Dyno actually did send me that a good while ago. Basically, by the time I'd gotten that though, I'd already kind of done a DIY tune on it. It seemed to be close enough. And I just got busy with some other stuff and just kind of forgot to get back around to this. By the way, in the beginning, I called this thing an auto tuner. This is actually a wideband kit that is different from an auto tuner. I didn't realize that at the time, but the auto tuners, well, they should actually do some auto tuning. The wideband is just a wideband. You put the wideband in there, and then if you connect it to a Power Vision, it'll data log. Then you would have to manually look at that and make changes on your own. You have to have something called a script. Now, it turns out the script for this bike, I do have it, it exists. It's just they don't exist for all bikes. So if you're gonna buy a wideband kit, if you don't wanna do it manually, you need to make sure this thing called a script exists. And it's a little bit of a process. We have to plug a bunch of things in. I'll show it to you though. For right now, the main thing we need to do is go and ride this thing. So now that we're out here in the real world, we've got everything connected. I've got my Power Vision up here. The Power Vision can flash the ECU, monitor things, and it can data log. It's basically like a tech tool. I don't know if you can see right there. You got engine speed, we got air to fuel. You can program all these different channels. If I hit data log, they will all be recorded. The main thing we've done is we've added an extra sensor. Remember, we have a factory O2 sensor right there, but this is just a narrow band. This is not near as precise as that big boy right there. That is a very sensitive sensor, and it's feeding into this. So what we need to do now is we need to start data logging. That's this little round button right here. We're gonna click it. It's to say data logging has started. Press again to stop. So we have to remember to stop it. If we kill the engine or turn it off, it will not save. I don't believe. I think we have to give it a second to save there. We're up to full temperature here. It'd be silly not to do this at full temperature. You know. Oh, I'm fine. I'm just doing a little video here. I'm good. But thank you for asking. Thank you so much. Nice. Make sure I was all right. So, oh, yep, we're up to 200-degree water temp. So let's get going here. And so what kind of riding are you supposed to be doing while you're data logging? Well, just about all kinds that you want it to tune for. You know? What we need to do is give this thing an example of all various conditions, different throttle positions, different RPMs, different loads the engine could be under. And the more of that we can data log, the better. Yeah, let's give it some of this. And we're braking. Woo, good brakes, good brakes. It needs to see some of that. Also just simple cruising at 60 miles an hour. And we're not just gonna be going highway speeds wide open, we're gonna be going them at various throttle loads, cruising sometimes, just a little bit of throttle, right? Oh, look at that wind. Let's give it some revs. Let it feel a little bit of that. Yeah, there's a little hesitation there. Remember, it's not gonna fix this on the fly. We're just data logging right now. Yeah, okay, it's right after 5,000 it suddenly picks up. So maybe a little fat there, maybe a little, it feels fat to me, too much fuel. But I want this thing to see that for that oxygen sensor and the exhaust to get an idea what it's doing. My condolences, brother. Okay, hey. I've moved this thing up to the top part of this bag because I think it might cushion a little bit more. I don't know if maybe like the vibrations coming through the tank. They're not that hard, but apparently this thing is it's all cockered now. So we're running for a few minutes now. Let's stop that one, saving. Why is the screen doing that? Woo, it's too hot out there for that. Okay, back here at home. I've plugged my Power Vision into the normal USB and the screen's fine now. It's in USB mode. And we're sitting here at the computer. So let's show you exactly what we need to pull up here. And so you'll have to get this thing called PowerCore. It's like 4 different softwares here. And the 2 that we need to open is something called C3 tuning software and this WinPep8 data center. On the side here, you've got desktop, your different drives. The F1 is the Power Vision in this case right now. And you see these things here, these are the log files. We need to click on these. And we want to click on each one of these. And this computer, it's kind of a slow laptop. This is another thing too. You'll need a PC. This doesn't work with Apple stuff. You don't necessarily need a laptop. You don't need to be next to the bike. You could do this in the AC of your house. I like to be mean to myself. But yeah, we're gonna open up each one of these. And in here's all our data logging. We can switch over here to the C3 tuning software. We're gonna go to open, go to the Power Vision on there. Again, this is F for me. And you need to go to your current tune that you're on. In my case, I'm on auto tune number 1. Click open, preparing document. You can see here all the different folders and things we can play with in here. Currently looks like I'm sitting here on pulse width alpha in. I think that's kind of your main one for your injectors here. You can see there's a lot of positive numbers in here. Full throttle is like 72 something %. It's not 100 on this bike, don't worry. That is 100% throttle. It's not like I thought it was like limited at first when I saw that. I was like, these bastards. No, it's nothing like that. Now we're gonna go up here to the top, to this tab here called Tune Lab. What you need right over here, see this says expression? This is the script, the programming that's required to actually turn our data logging and our current tune into a new tune, a suggested tune. This doesn't necessarily exist for every bike. So if you're gonna buy a wideband auto tuner, you may wanna contact DynoJet ahead of time and ask them if they have the script for your bike. Without this, we could still do it, but we'd have to literally do it manually. We'd have to kind of look, it's a bit lean here, it's a bit rich here, and then go find that spot point in the map and manually make adjustments. You probably don't want to do that. Basically, if you get the script, it's a bunch of this stuff right here. You just need to copy and paste it into this little window right here. Once that's in there, we can come over here and click Perform Correction. It's a little play button. Use all opened run files in Data Center. Yeah, okay. Okay, and here's something that I haven't messed with yet, but this is the target air to fuel ratio. As you can see right now, it is all 13s. So you've got RPM over here on the one side, throttle body position sensor up here at top. They've just stuck it all sort of 13 as a default. So 13, to give you an idea, working in AFR, it's like a just general middle ground. Like we would be fine if you wanted to leave it there. The smaller the number, the more fuel. The bigger the number, the less fuel. At lower throttle position where we're just cruising around, we don't necessarily need 13. We could 14 or so. 14 and a half I think is actually supposed to be for good range. Your car will go like as lean as like 16, 17 sometimes. They're a car and they've got a lot more cooling and monitoring and stuff going on. I wouldn't want to go that lean, but I do want to make some changes in here. This is going up to 72%. So let's take about, let's say 16%, to do about 8,000. And we're going to change this, go up to 13.5, click equals. There we go, 13.5. You can come over here. This last little percentage is up here. I'll take this all the way down to red line this time. Let's change these to 12.5 equals. There we go. We want to get really spicy down here, maybe 12.2. Why not? Again, the smaller the number, more fuel we're asking for. And this is the target air to fuel. You can go in here and try to blend this, but we haven't made that big of changes. I think that's fine. I'm gonna say okay for that. Okay, here's some suggestions here, right? We're gonna click okay. So these are the suggestions that we're getting here. I'm seeing a lot of minuses, which is nice. Like I said, I think we were a bit fat in a lot of spots, and that's fine with me as a safety measure. Some pluses in here. We'll just say okay. And now, if we actually go to here, this is our injector pulse. See, there we go. See, these are the new things that's added in here. It'll be kind of bold numbers. They'll either have a plus or minus showing the change. Now, with that done, what we're gonna do is go back over here to home. I'm gonna come over here and say save as. Not save, but save as. I'm gonna say this is a DJT file. And last time I called this Auto-Tune 1, so since this is the second time I've done this now, change that to 2. We're gonna click save, and it should give me one final option here to make any notes. It says right here, Auto-Tune round 1. So I'm gonna change this to Auto-Tune round 2. This has got the other various information in here. Okay, and that should be saved. And we can double check that by going over here to Power Vision. There it is, Auto-Tune number 2. So now if we want, we can eject this. So let's plug the Power Vision back into the bike, flip it on, ignition on. Screen looks to be fine now. That was very unusual before. What we need to do now is go to Flash Tune. Right now we're on Auto-Tune number 1. We need to go to Auto-Tune number 2. We're gonna select the big button here in the middle to start that process. We're gonna now stick our new suggestions onto the bike. And we're gonna let it run through its thing here. And the thing is, we still have all the other ones saved in here. If we get out there, we start riding around, we're like, oh my God, this thing is just terrible. I could literally just pull over and reload in the previous Auto-Tune, or even my Jake Mod 2, which was the one we're sort of basing this all off of. It's actually based originally off an Ari Henning tune that I received. I'll let this run here. Just takes a few seconds. Flash complete. Verify flash turn key off and then on. It always asks you to do this. Go over here to Flash Tune. The little star shows which tune we're on, and it says Auto-Tune number 2. So that means we are on the correct one, and we're good. Now, one final thing I'm gonna do is I'm gonna plug the PowerVision back in the computer. I should have done this before I ejected it, but I'm gonna delete all my old log files. That way when I run this again, I won't be confused to which ones were which. For some reason, even though I set the date on it, the PowerVision is always like on the same date and time. That'll just simplify things. I don't think I need those data log files anymore, but you could always save those if you want, like in a folder on the computer. So the bike's done now, right? Well, not really. That was, we've basically applied all these suggestions. We kind of need to go run around again now and see if it comes up with new suggestions, right? It's saying, hey, here's what I think you should do. May not be 100% the first time, especially if things are like wildly out of whack. It's kind of having to hunt a little bit. So we're gonna go do that again. And the hope is that we can do this, maybe a couple times. And what we should see is, we'll probably never get to a point where the suggestions are zeros or anything, but we should get to the point where the suggestions are just small numbers, and that would be a good indication that we're basically there. I'll get back to you after I've done a few rounds of that. Well, here we are, round 3-ish. Yeah, we've done this 3 times now, and I think we're good. I actually moved the PowerVision up here and I've been watching it while I ride around and seeing really good numbers. When I'm just cruising around, it's around 13 and a half sometimes. And then we get on it, it drops into like the 12s typically. Here's 6th gear, 65, 70, we're right around 13. 13 is good. This has worked. I think a lot of you out there seeing this realizing you'd have to get a PowerVision, then the auto tuner, then you have to go do this work. You got to get the bung welded in. I mean, this is not for everybody. I'm going to be straight with you. This isn't for everyone. But if you are going to go down the path of possibly getting custom dyno tuning, most of the time you're going to have to get the PowerVision anyway. Then you go, okay, how much does custom dyno tuning cost? And I mean, what I paid before was about what the auto tuner cost. And at the end of the day, it wasn't even a good tune. And I was just stuck with what I got. With this system, I can go and run it again, keep trying until I get it happy. This is just what you have to kind of accept. I think if you're gonna do a whole bunch of custom stuff to my engine and absolutely mod the crap out of it, then that's what it's gonna be. If you're just slapping an exhaust on this thing, a tune that I had, that Dynojet did, that was the tune I had where it was completely de-restricted, airbox mod, not the CBR boot though yet, but CBR cams, full exhaust. And I've heard from several people have taken that tune and slapped it on their bike minus the CBR cams and said it works pretty good. Made the bike very responsive. I make that tune available for anybody on the Patreon. I've had to do a lot of work to get these tunes. A lot of money spent, so it's basically gonna cost you $1 to get your hands on it, or you could probably find someone that already downloaded it and steal it from them, but I'd appreciate it if you at least gave me $1 for it. Yeah, that's certainly a route you can go. If you just wanted to get that tune and slap it on there with some bolt-ons, you just would need the PowerVision 3, my map, and I think you'd be pretty solid. I'll make this tune available too for people on Patreon if you want it. Next stop though, we're gonna get this thing to an actual dyno, and let's get some real numbers. What's your guesstimations? Put them in the comments below. And if you want to see these videos earlier without ads and help support this channel, join the Patreon. If you do that, join the Discord. You gotta link your Patreon to your Discord. There's a lot of you guys in the Patreon that haven't done that. It's not that hard. See y'all next video. Woo!